If a North Korea war does become a reality, one unmanageable $3 trillion convergence that has not been widely acknowledged threats to wreak havoc on the world. The defiant nation launched another missile test today, just hours after stern warnings from Donald Trump that a major conflict was possible. The conflict between Kim Jong-un and Donald Trump could unfold in several ways, but it is the 30 million citizens of the hermit state whose fate could trigger a global catastrophe. A thermonuclear war would be a humanitarian and ecological disaster for the entire region, with radiation causing a nuclear holocaust that tears into South Korea, China, Russia and Japan. But if conventional weapons are used and the Kim regime collapses, a more likely scenario, we may face an alternative nightmare. The 30 million citizens of the hermit could have been displaced by a war, triggering a costly humanitarian crisis. Picture KCNA via KNS Street, AFP. The 30 million citizens of the hermit could have been displaced by a war, triggering a costly humanitarian crisis. Picture KCNA via KNS Street, AFP. Source supplied. No space for the Kims. The first consensus would be that the Kims and all those connected with the ruling Workers' Party of Korea would have to flee compatriots angry at years of human rights violations and public executions. Secret police and party officials would seek refuge in neighboring China or Russia. Australian National University researcher Leonard Petrov told news.com.au. There's no space for the Kim clan in a unified Korea. His brother, cousin, aunts and uncles, they are inseparably connected with the time and will be prosecuted as criminals. Some South American countries may be willing to give refuge to people, Bolivia, Venezuela, Guatemala. Countries that are anti-American may be supportive. So what will Kim Jong-un's people do without their supreme leader? With their lack of money, food and shelter if the statute collapses. They too may seek refuge in China, Russia and South Korea, but those countries will not need to be open to an influx of North Korean refugees. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and his supporters would have forced to flee the country if the time collapsed, leaving its impoverished people increasingly desperate. Photo AFP. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and his supporters would have forced to flee the country if the time collapsed, leaving its impoverished people increasingly desperate. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and his supporters would have forced to flee the country if the time collapsed, leaving its impoverished people increasingly desperate. Photo AFP. Source supplied. The 30 million person problem. China is already home to an estimated 100,000 North Korean defectors, and is illegally to want the pressure of more. The Chinese have been concerned about such a scenario for some time, and may reinforce the border with troops, Rand Corporation scientist Andrew Scobell told Foxtrot Alpha. Others may try to travel from city to city in search of refugee, while others could try to cross into South Korea, although if fighting persists in the DMZ, that would be almost impossible. The most likely conclusion would be the reunification of Korea, according to Dr. Petrov, but this may mean deep economic and social problems. The South Korean economy is reaching crisis, he said. It needs to urgently access cheap resource labor. South Korea may use the opportunity to exploit North Koreans who have less education or experience in enterprise. Millions of North Korean workers could become second-class citizens, there could be widespread discrimination, even the border might be kept for years to stop mass immigration. It will take at least a decade before the level of prosperity will be equal between North and South. During that 10 years, the reunification going to be very expensive, $3 trillion or more. There's going to be definite social tension between South Koreans and North Koreans. Both countries have been isolated from each other, they speak different dialects, understand the world differently. South Korea does not need its impoverished, aggressive, poorly educated brothers to inundate South Korea. North Koreans could be exploited, abused, or turned criminal if they were forced into a sudden and unequal reunification with their estranged South Korean cousins. Picture, KCNA via KNS, Street, AFP photo. North Koreans could be exploited, abused, or turned criminal if they were forced into a sudden and unequal reunification with their estranged South Korean cousins. Picture, KCNA via KNS, Street, AFP photo. Source supplied to Crash Landing. The reunification of Korea has been under debate for years, and former South Korean President Kim Dae-jung won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2000 for his implementation of the Sunshine Policy to improve political relations between the two states.